So the first pose I was going to demonstrate would be a cat-cow pose. So effectively that's two poses, the cat pose and the cow pose, but we tend to combine them because it creates a nice little flow. And this one is all about the spine, as you'll see. So we start this pose on all fours. So if we come down to the mat and settle the knees directly beneath the hips. And if you've got grumpy knees, if you've got knee injuries, then sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of padding beneath the knees, just to soften things a little bit. And then we have the heels of the hands, the wrists directly beneath the shoulders. And let's spread the fingers wide, get loads of space between those fingers. Let them take some of the weights off the wrists. And then let's have a little bit of softening in the elbows. So we use our muscles rather than simply stacking the bones of the arms. Although having said that, stacking the bones of the arms creates that little bit of bone loading, which helps avoid osteoporosis. That's not such a bad thing, but it is nice to work those arm muscles too. And then we think about the spine. Let's start by extending the tailbone back as if you were trying to touch the wall behind you with your tail. And then if you point the nose directly at the floor and imagine extending the crown of the head towards the wall in the opposite direction. And then from here, we're going to tuck our tail under so we can feel an arch creeping up the spine. We push the middle of the back towards the ceiling. We push the area between the shoulder blades up towards the ceiling, and we draw the chin towards the chest. And this is the cat pose, a bit like an angry cat about to pounce. And then we come into the cow pose by softening the tummy, releasing the tailbone back, allow it to drift up a little way as long as the back doesn't complain. Allow the breastbone to come forwards, the gaze to come forward, just enough to create a little bit of stretch down the front of the chest, but not overdoing this. And then tucking that tail under again to arch the back, chin to the chest, and then releasing that tailbone back. Let it drift back and slightly upwards without overdoing this lumbar tilt. And then we simply flow between those two poses, cat pose and cow pose. And to make it even more effective, we see if we can move with the breath. And we can be prescriptive about the breath and tell you to breathe in as you move in one direction and breathe out as you move in the other. But that's just going to complicate things for now. So just find a way that works with your breath, your body. And as we do this, feeling into what goes on in your spine, just noticing the work going on in the wrists and the hands, just feeling the stability and yet flexibility that's there in the shoulders so that the spine can move freely in those two directions. As you tuck your tail under, just feel the glutes switch on so buttocks tighten a little bit to create that rounding at the low end. And just making sure that we don't continue in this for too long so that the wrists get really sore and grumpy. And when you feel you've done enough, you could settle back, guiding the bottom towards the heels, resting the head on the floor, and deciding where you're going to put your arms. Are they going to stay extended out along the floor, or you could bring them beside the legs as you rest there in what we'd call a child pose. So the weight now is off the wrists, and we perhaps close the eyes and recover.